Welcome to Gold Silver Pros.
Hey everyone, this is Rob Keynes with 𝑔oldsilverpros.com. This is the Thursday video in which I promised you I would go over some very interesting stuff with regards to truths in the bullion market and some of the things that I see told to people or people tell me. And this will be the start of a series of videos. This is our first one on Thursday, March 28, 2024. But this will be the first of a series of videos where we talk about some topics around bullion and the bullion industry and gold and silver that may or may not be true and why they may or may not be true. And this series is an attempt by me to kind of clear some of these things up. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes when I look at social media or I talk to people at conferences or in the store or out on the street or through email or whatever the case may be, I get a lot of not only conspiracy theory type stuff, but I get a lot of stuff that just simply isn't true, but they're widespread notions within the space. And so this is going to be the first in a series of videos talking about some of the stuff that people are told. Now, some of this came to me from the result of people coming into my store telling me that other precious metals stores or shops were saying things that I think are pretty much not true or are misleading. And it's from more than one person in particular, but more than one person over the years, but specifically lately. You know, as people are getting back into precious metals, they're going to buy in a bunch of different places. And there's a lot of what I would call salesmanship around things told to people to get them to buy certain products, for example. Sometimes I see that people will get into more expensive products instead of stacking similar quality, cheaper, premium other products because of fear of this or that or the other. And I think that there are, quite frankly, some people in this industry that sell people on that notion to get higher premiums. Now, this doesn't happen everywhere. Most bullion dealers, especially local coin shops and even some of the big online shops, work on reputation. And if you lose your reputation, you lose your business. So I think most people in this industry are honest. I want to preface everything with that. But there are social media people, analysts, writers, bullion providers that sometimes can promulgate things that aren't necessarily 100% true. There may be a kernel of truth. There may be no truth. It may be based on a thought or a fear of something, or it may be based on factual data. And so what I'm going to do is what I typically do. I'm going to look at as much factual data as we can as we go through this series. And I'm going to sort of debunk some things that I just don't see as being true, because at the end of the day, I don't want you getting hurt. And at the end of the day, I'm okay with you guys buying, you know, at the end of the day, you buy what you want to buy. I'm not your financial advisor. If you want to go buy expensive, high-end premium products, I got no problem. In general, I'll just say before I start this particular video, which I'm going to talk about legal tender laws and gold and silver as money. That'll be what this video is on. Before I do that, I just want to make a general comment. When you're buying, I recommend a bucket strategy. And again, I'm not your financial advisor, so I'm going to roll that banner out here real quick. We're not your financial advisor, blah, blah, blah. Just as a disclaimer. That being said, we can talk about concepts, right? If you're going to get into bullion, I personally always recommend first you have a bucket of cash, because cash is king until it's not. And you got to pay your bills with cash. And you don't want to sell your precious metals because you don't have enough cash sitting in your bank account or under your mattress or wherever you have it. You know, you decide to pay your bills and stuff like that for emergencies and stuff like that. Cash is still king in today's society until it's not. Precious metals are more of a medium, long-term sort of hedge against inflation, hedge against calamity, insurance policy, whatever you want to say. And we also think that there's an investment component to that, because the prices really haven't caught up with the price inflation in other parts of the economy. So without getting too much into that. But if you're just going to start buying, have a bucket of cash, have a bucket of relatively low premium, easy to move products. The three that I generally recommend are going to be 1 ounce, what we call various mint or private mint or generic rounds that are well recognized, that are 3/9 fine silver or better. We also I recommend junk or constitutional silver. That's 1964 or before coinage that had silver in it, which are generally quarters, dimes, half dollars, and dollars. And then get into things like bars, but small denomination bars, 1 ounce and 5 ounce. Because right now, the 10, the kilo, and the 100 ounce aren't selling real well. They're hard to move. So if you're getting into big silver bars, for example, those can be hard to move at times. I had a Twitter post on that recently, which caused quite a firestorm. Somebody was trying to move a 100 ounce bar, and it's just not liquid in this market. And it's probably better to be refined or to be held for later when there's more interest in those. So I would say have your bucket of cash, have your bucket of easy to move along silver and gold. For gold, I would probably do a sovereign coin first, or a well-recognized bar like a Valcambi mint, a Kinesis mint, Arger Harris, Pam Suisse, or go for a gold Canadian Maple Leaf, a gold Krugerrand. And then if you really want to pay a little bit more premium, get the gold American Eagles. Those I would recommend first, and then get into your higher premium stuff, your collector coins like your Morgans and pre-1933 gold, or maybe just like even I had the Lithuanian Mint on the last program on Tuesday talking about a modern collectible coin. It's beautiful, but those should be further down the list. That's generally what I recommend. Unless you're a millionaire, you can buy whatever you want. But if you're on a budget, start with lower premium gold and silver, stuff that's easier to move, after your cash bucket, and then get into your premium collectibles if you want to even go there. In general, that's my recommendation. Do your own research, please. Okay, that being said, this came about because somebody came into my store. They wanted to order a lot in the millions of gold and silver, but they were insistent it had to be American gold eagles and American silver eagles because those are the only things that would ever be accepted as money in the United States. And that is something that we have to debunk because it's not true. Now, it is true that 5 states have passed legal tender laws for gold, and that some of those are, which I'll show you here in a moment, advocate U.S. minted as money or what a court in the state would appoint as gold and silver specie. We're defining specie. We use the term specie. Specie is the financial version of gold and silver. We're going to use it financially. What is that specie? Well, that specie could be anything. And some of the early laws focused on U.S. minted products. So it could be a buffalo, could be a silver eagle, could be a gold eagle, could be any U.S. minted product. But then we quickly figured out, well, wait a minute. A couple of states after that passed laws and said it could be any designated gold and silver as long as it's fine gold and silver is recognized by the industry. And there are reasons for that. And then all of the new legislation is not talking about government minted. It's talking about government or other mint or as designated by the state, financial officer or whoever is appointing it. And there are reasons for that. So I'm going to debunk sort of this thought that you have to get American gold or silver eagles and store them somewhere, and then any other bullion that you get is not going to be legitimately recognized as money or even as barter exchange. That's just simply untrue. And we're going to debunk that. And the reason I'm going to debunk that is because I've got no problem if you buy American gold and silver eagles. I'll sell them to you. Other dealers will as well. But you have to understand that the premiums on those, because they're a limited product, cause them to be a higher price. As long as you understand that, you're okay. But from a market standpoint, you can't only make those as money because there ain't enough of them. And I'm going to go through that data as well. So let's start talking about this. And then as we go through the series, I'm going to talk about other things that are kind of untruths or half-truths or not really true. Some of them are based on fear. Some of it is people trying to sell you a more expensive product, or some of it is just people having their own thoughts and feelings on it. But we want to put some research behind it. Next week is going to be probably one of the most controversial videos I've ever done. I'm going to talk about spot pricing and why it's not what people think it is. Now, you would think with my Tuesday videos that people would see me talk about the derivative markets and understand spot, but people still don't. And I did an X post yesterday, or Twitter post, if you will, and it had something like 100,000 views or whatever, because people were coming in criticizing me for talking about how you can have silver, but sometimes you're not going to get, above spot or even spot for it, depending on the local market. And they're like, spot is the Bible on prices. But if you watch my Tuesday video, it's not, because the spot prices are determined in paper market, not by physical. So we're going to do that video next week. And I'm saving that for a video because there's going to be a lot of controversy around it. But I'm going to walk you through how the physical market actually works and how it has very little to do with the derivatives market. But we're going to do that in a minute. All right. Right now we're going to get into gold and silver as legal tender, what kind of gold and silver you could use as legal tender, and why. And without further ado, let's get to the presentation, which just is a series of legal documentation that we're going to go over it. Now, the 5 states that have expressly passed gold as legal tender, as money, are Utah, Wyoming, Oklahoma, Arizona, and Arkansas. The first 5 bills that we're going to look at are from those states. And then we're going to look at some of the proposed legislation for other states. Now, I'm involved in some of that proposed legislation because I sit on the advisory board for Citizens for Sound Money. Citizens for Sound Money actually developed the legislation for New Hampshire, South Carolina, some of it for Texas and for Florida. And we definitely are not designating only U.S. minted gold and silver products as money for specific reasons, which I'll get to in a moment. Now, this is the state of Arkansas, which has passed it. This is a bill. This is Senate Bill 336. And if we look down here on the definition of what gold and silver is, bullion right here means a bar, ingot, or coin manufactured in whole or part of gold, silver, platinum, or palladium. It doesn't say specifically U.S. minted. And it mentions that it's sold based on the intrinsic value of the bar and ingot and shouldn't be a collectible. So they are exempting collectibles like pre-1933 gold. You can use pre-1933 gold, but only the gold value would count, not the collectible value. But it doesn't say it has to be American gold or silver eagles. And it's sold based on the intrinsic value of the coin. Coin and current, so they're talking about what is actually coin and currency. And it's anything that's gold and silver that's recognized by the market as being gold and silver. As long as it's 3/9 fine would probably be a good guideline. That's that one. What about Wyoming? They've passed it. What does their law say? Well, it says definition of legal tender means a recognized medium of exchange for the payment of debts and taxes. And specie means coins having gold or silver content. It doesn't say it has to be U.S. minted or American gold or silver eagles. And it also says refined gold, silver, and bullion, which is coined, stamped, or imprinted with its weight and purity value primarily based on the metal content. So i.e. not a collectible, or you can use a collectible, but only on its metal content. But it's anything having that metal content. That's Wyoming. That's passed as law. So again, doesn't mention American gold, silver eagles, or only U.S. minted coin. Well, what about Oklahoma? Well, in Oklahoma, on their state government website, page 637, Title 62 Public Finance, it talks about their law with regard to gold and silver. Now, this one's a little different. It says gold and silver coins issued by the United States government are legal tender in the state of Oklahoma. No person may compel another person to accept it, blah, blah, blah. So in this case, they're saying issued by the United States government. Oklahoma is the only state in which this is the provision. 1 out of 50 and 1 out of 5 that have passed it in the United States. One state, and it happens to be one of the smallest ones. And most states don't pass it this way because they realize gold, you can't just use U.S. coins. If everybody's going to have some, you got to expand it. There's not enough. So Oklahoma's the only one. What about Utah? We're at Utah's website here. Specie legal tender is legal tender in the state. A person may not compel another person to accept it. Expressly as provided, a person may blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we go. Gold or silver coin or bullion other than gold or silver coin issued in the United States is considered to be specie legal tender and legal tender in the state if a court of competent jurisdiction issues a final judgment, blah, blah, blah. So it starts with U.S. coinage, but if the courts or Congress, because Congress down here says that anything else can be. So there's a provision that it could go beyond American issue coinage, written right into the law. What about Arizona? Here's a SB 1439. Legal tender, specie as coin or bullion with gold or silver content. It's either legal tender as authorized by Congress, issued by the United States government at any time, or any other specie that a court of competent jurisdiction rules that can make legal tender. So that could be anything. So again, only one state specifically said only U.S. minted. 2 states said U.S. minted and or anything else. And 2 states said anything that's gold and silver. So out of the 5, you have 3 different options. Only one of them specifically says only U.S. tender. Now, what about the rest? Well, let's see why that would be an issue. So here we're talking about mintage of silver eagle mintages. And if you want to know how many's been minted total since they've been doing it since 1986 to 2023, right here on this line right here, the U.S. Mint has struck a total of 658,018,441. So if we're only using silver eagles, assuming none of them have ever been minted, melted down, or not buried, and you could actually get to them all, you would have slightly less than 2 ounces a person. Can the economy run on 2 ounces per person of silver as its money? Obviously not, unless silver was valued at millions of dollars per ounce. What are the chances silver goes to millions of dollars per ounce? Not likely. It's possible, it's not likely. So if you look at all the American silver eagles ever produced, it could not help run the economy unless silver was valued at millions of dollars per ounce. So that assumes that you're going to have to get beyond American silver eagles and go to something else. And here are the individual mintages. This is how you get to 658 million. You can see in many years it's in the low millions that were minted. And it's just, and that includes all the proof ones, the collectible ones. All of them. It's only 658 million. Well, what about gold? Well, gold gets even tighter. Gold, if you go down to the bottom and you see how many was ever minted, that number is only 55,138 and 46. Well, how many is that per person? That's exactly 0.15. So only 15% of people could own one American gold eagle. The other 85% are screwed. Well, obviously, there's not enough to make it money, and gold would probably have to go to millions of dollars an ounce. And you would start chopping up the gold eagles to get, or flaking it off like they do in Roman times, because there's simply not enough. So you can't, given the mintages of American gold and silver eagles, You can't make them money across all the 50 states. There aren't enough. There simply aren't enough. Now, is there enough total gold and silver? Absolutely, at the right price point. But if you're really going to make them legal tender, you can't just rely on American gold and silver eagles. It's not practical. It's just not practical. Now let's look at some proposed legislation. So many other states have had proposed legislation with regards to making gold and silver actually legal tender. I'm not talking about removing capital gains or sales taxes. I'm talking about legal tender as money. And we're focusing on that legislation. And you'll see that all of the new proposed legislation, including for the bigger states, Texas, Florida, all that, are all making a wider swath of gold and silver products specie or to be designated as legal tender, because we realize that you got to have more than gold and silver eagles. There aren't enough unless, not everybody can have one or even two in terms of silver. So when you talk use of gold and silver coins as bullion in Texas, this is one of the proposals. Gold bullion means gold bullion from any source that a reliable agency has assayed and certified as containing gold, a specific weight of fineness. Any source, period. That's one proposal in the state of Texas. Here's another proposal in the state of Texas, because it gets proposed every year. The right of the people to own, hold, and use a mutually agreed upon medium of exchange, including cash, coin, bullion, digital currency. No government shall prohibit the ownership. So they're actually saying anything could be money as long as the state includes it, and it's any form or amount of money or currency, holding any form, right there in the bill. What about West Virginia? This is in 2021, House Bill 3135. What does West Virginia say? Gold and silver coin issued by the federal government, is legal tender. And that basically says by the government. So that's one that does say by the government. The problem is it's not really going to work because there's not enough. What if we go to Tennessee? Tennessee says specie means coin having gold or silver content, or refined gold and silver bullion that is coin, stamped, or printed. So if you just took a dory bar, refined it, and then made it into gold and silver coins, it could be a private mint, a state mint, whatever. So you can see the vast majority of these aren't focusing on only U.S. minted product because it's not going to work. Only 2 states have explicitly said U.S. minted. All the rest have expanded that to other forms. Let's go down to Kansas state legislature. This one may take a while to get there. In fact, let's just do a search for gold. Enact legal tender, gold and silver coins, legal tender, exempting specie from Kansas sales taxation. Specie means, right here, coin having gold or silver content, not American gold or silver eagles or only, buffaloes or any U.S. minted. Any coin having gold and silver content, refined gold or silver bullion that is coined. So you could even take raw gold and silver and coin it and make it money. Again, not limited to U.S. base. What about South Carolina? Gold and silver minted foreign or domestic shall be legal tender in this state. So it could be French ducats. It could be Chinese pandas. It could be anything. This one is for Kansas. I think we already did this one. I may have that twice. Here is for another South Carolina. And sometimes they get submitted more than once. Again, foreign or domestic. And here's a PDF of one in Alaska. An act relating to the species legal tender in the state and relating to borough and city sales and use tax on specie. Legal tender, Article 5. Issued by the federal government or that a court appoints, blah, blah, blah. So again, it's not just stuff that's minted in the United States. There are only one state that's explicitly said it has to be U.S. minted. The other states had an option for the courts to decide, but 40% of the states said any. And most of the proposed legislation is saying any that's recognized by the market. Why? Because as I showed you, there's not enough mintage of American gold and silver eagles to do it. So the majority of the states aren't going to limit it to American gold and silver eagles. Why is that? I can tell you from talking to some of the states, either directly or indirectly, either I did or my friends did, because I'm part of the team that's trying to pass this in several states. So I'm actually part of the team that's written the new laws, proposing the new laws, and lobbying for the new laws, and doing social media and education around the new laws. I'm actually involved in the movement itself through my role through Citizens for Sound Money and working with other ones like Sound Money Defense League and other people doing it in other states. There are multiple grassroots organizations doing this. I'm a member of one of them. And I can tell you that all of our conversations have been around what about gold backs? What about kinesis and gold and silver backed electronic currencies? All of these options are being talked about as a way to transact in gold. And eventually we want silver as well. We want bimetallic. We want to do bimetallic. Right now we're focusing on gold, but we want to expand the options because think about it. If you're carrying around a bunch of 1 ounce gold coins, first of all, you may be able to buy a city block with gold eventually because it's going to get very expensive and it's very dangerous to carry it. And two, it's not practical what if you're shopping on Amazon? What if you're sending money to a person somewhere else? You got to have other forms of it. So we need an electronic form of it that's backed one-to-one and audited. We need the physical form of it, and it needs to be so that a reasonable person can actually go get it in the marketplace. If you've bought a monster box of American Silver Eagles, congrats. If you haven't bought a box of American Silver Eagles, you may not ever be able to get enough Silver Eagles to actually use this money. So it's not practical. And so we're focusing on any well-recognized market coinage or bar that's fine gold and silver as recognized. And in the legislation, we're talking about it has to be valued at market price. It's not the price imprinted on the coin. So if you look at a $20 American Eagle or an old St. Gaudens or whatever, you're not going to trade that for $20 worth of goods and merchandise. You want the market price. So we're specifying market price. And the states themselves are supporting this because they want to put gold and silver in their coffers. Why? Because as we talk to the states, they can't plan school projects and highways and roads and these big capital project improvements with fiat dollars because inflation's murdering them by the time they get to year 3, 4, and 5, or, some of these projects are 10 or 15 years. By the time they get to year 3 and beyond, the purchasing power of the dollars that they raise those bonds for or raise that money for in year 1 aren't stretching and not paying the bills. So they want something in their coffers that holds value over time. Gold being the most stable inflation, accommodating or inflation protecting financial physical instrument in the world for the last 5,000 years. So the states actually want it. And so they know that they're not going to go buy a bunch of American Gold Eagles. They want to buy kilo bars. They want to get it as cheap as possible from the market as long as it's recognized. So as the states begin to think about putting this into their own budgets, putting it into their own coffers, Texas has its own bullion depository. Other states in the legislation are proposing their own bullion depositories. You may end up having 30 or even 40 bullion depositories across the United States that are holding government bullion specie that they're going to use for their own projects to offset the effects of fiat currency inflation. So they want a wide variety of products that they can go into the market and get. So yeah, some of the early instances, 1 or 2 of the early instances of legislation focused on US minted coinage. All the rest of them are saying, no, wait a minute, that's not going to work. If it's actually going to be money, we got to go get all the gold and silver that's the market considers. And that has been proven to be gold and silver. It's been tested. It's been assayed. It's got serial number, and it can come from anywhere. Come from Europe, South Africa, China, US, as long as you can prove it's gold and silver. And that's really it's going to be going forward. So why'd I do this video? So many people, I just had a gentleman come in this morning wanting to order a monster box of American Silver Eagles. And I had that whole conversation with him around, I got no problem with that. Just understand the premiums and understand that if you're actually going to use this as money, it's not just going to be American Silver Eagles. As long as you understand that, you can buy whatever you want. But also that person that bought millions of dollars to put it into storage that came into my shop, they were told by other people that only, basically only American Gold and Silver Eagles would be considered, that wouldn't be confiscated or could be used as money. So if they were going to buy it, they shouldn't buy anything else. Well, it just happens American Gold and Silver Eagles have higher premiums. Now, was that motivated by this person selling it that told them that was a dealer? And by the way, it was a big dealer. It wasn't a local dealer. It was one of the big ones. And I'm told that's what that person said. I'm not going to tell the company name, but this is what I was told. And I've been told this more than once, that people that sell gold and silver, some, will promote you into more expensive products. I don't do that. I always have the premium discussion with people for 15 minutes before they buy anything. I've actually had people walk out of my shop and buy nothing while they figure out what they want to buy, and I lost a sale. The guy that wanted to buy a monster box, he's like, let me consider my options and come back. That's a $15,000 sale. I didn't make anything this morning, but I educated him on why it's important to consider premiums and what you want. And I told him to watch the video because I actually am recording this video after we had that conversation, and he's going to watch it tonight. I told him about my channel, and I said, look at all this legislation and figure out for yourself before you buy it. You know, but people are getting into this because some people are promoting the idea that only certain products are really going to be recognized as money, or that people, when you sell it back, they're only going to buy certain products. It's not true. As a bullion dealer, I buy stuff all day long. Now, there is a supply-demand curve for every specific product. Right now, 100-ounce bars and silver, I can't move out the door if I tried. I can go have them refined, but there's a cost to that. So I got to offer, I got to discount it because the refiner's not going to give me spot on it. And so on certain products, I may be trading below spot, they may be trading above spot. That's local supply and demand. And I'll get into that next week, why that's true. So that's another thing that you have to consider. But just looking at the amount of gold and silver eagles made, and even if you throw buffaloes in there, it's even more rare, the buffaloes, or any U.S. minted product, there's not enough to actually serve as money. So as more states begin passing this legislation, that legislation is being expanded to include a depository, that the states actually hold some of it, that they do gold and hopefully gold and silver in all of its forms, and that they do electronic components so we can do things like modern day wire transfers without having to go through the wire transfer system, that you can do it electronically, that you can transmit that or buy and sell it electronically without having to physically take physical possession if you're storing it like the Texas Bullion Depository or someplace like that. So those are all considerations about why that legislation has evolved. I'm involved in one of the big groups here in the U.S. looking at that for some of the major big states. I know for a fact the conversations have been had with some of the legislatures about this. I've sat in on testimony about this, and I'm telling you right now, if somebody tells you that the only type of bullion that you'll ever actually be able to use is U.S. minted bullion, they're wrong. That is factually untrue, and I just showed you a lot of that legislation. But no, going forward, as this movement increases, we're completely expanding out the definition to make sure that we can do a fully functioning economy. And you can't do it on the amount of minted American gold and silver eagles, and you can't just do it in physical form. You have to have a physical backed other product, which allows you to do electronic transfers. Because you can't order from Amazon with physical bullion. You'd have to drive to the distribution facility, and they're not set up for that. You have to have an electronic version of it. And the states want it. And so they're going to want to be able to buy kilo bars or London Good Delivery bars and get a discount on it, because the more you buy, the more discount you get. And that's just practicality. So from all practical purposes, American gold and silver eagles by themselves aren't going to cut it. So if people are telling you only buy American gold and silver eagles because that's the only thing that you'll ever be able to sell, or the only thing that would be money, or the only thing that's going to be recognized at market value, that's patently false. It's false with the laws on the books, and it's really false as these laws evolve, as we get closer maybe to using gold and silver as money again. And that's there in the data I showed you. It's blatantly obvious. Now, that's not the only thing that people are getting told. And in this series, I'm going to talk about other things. Next week, I'm going to talk about spot price. The following week, I may talk about some other things. I may go into the minor end and the equity space. I'm going to show you guys some inside baseball and stuff that I've been learning over the years. I'm going to try to debunk some theories that are false, and I'm doing this to educate the market. I'm going to get slings and arrows for it. I know that, but somebody's got to do it, because I feel like there's a lot of fear mongering, and maybe some of it's well-intentioned dishonesty. It's just people don't know, but we got to talk about that, because it can be dangerous for you to listen to some things you hear on social media or from people that think they know gold and silver, or even some of these big shops, trying to make certain sales. Whether it be malicious or not, is up to you to decide. But you got to understand the market before you go participate in it. Don't listen to people that try to fear you into something. Like, yes, time may be getting short to get it, but educate yourself on what you're getting. And again, make your own decisions. I put this disclaimer up 1,000 times. I'm going to do it again. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm trying to educate you so you know what to do on your own. Do your own research. And by the way, don't believe everything I say. Go do your own research. But at least I provide the bills. At least I provide the amount of American gold and silver eagles. I've got data and actual facts behind my argument. And if you're going to a dealer, or you're talking to a friend, or you're watching the social media channel and they're not putting facts behind what they say, you better go look those facts up. Or like I say, you're the patsy at the poker table. What do I always say? If you sit at the poker table in this money game and you don't know the rules, you're the one getting taken advantage of. And these poor people that I've talked to recently that have been told some of these things are getting taken advantage of. And at the end of the day, they're still getting bullion, but they may be not getting the right bullion for what they need. And it's different for every person. And that's why that legislation is being written that way. And that's why we're doing it that way. So don't be fooled by that. Don't be fooled by that at all. And just know that, there is going to be options for you that fit your budget, that fit your needs. And just be aware of that. All right. Next week, we'll talk spot price. Then I'll talk about the miners. Then I'm going to talk about some other things, which are either on social media or in the general, community about gold and silver that simply aren't true and could be very harmful. And this series hopefully will enlighten you guys and give you the information you need to make your own decisions and to do your own further research and to protect yourself in this market. And remember, what I recommend, not your financial advisor, but what I do for myself and what I, think is a good idea, just in general, bucket of cash, you decide how much, but I would have 3 months of expenses. I have 3 months of expenses in cash in my account. Is there a risk in the banking system? Sure. But cash is king till it's not. And I got to have some. Then I go to easy to buy and sell, relatively low premium gold and silver. And then I go into things like special edition, collectible, stuff like that, that I just like, that I like because I'm a collector. That's how I do it. You do it however you want, but don't let people fear you or spread propaganda or misinformation, whether intentional or not. I'm not assigning intent here. I'm just saying it's either the truth or it ain't. Regardless of intent, it's either the truth or it's not the truth. Regardless of that person thinks that they're telling you the truth, do your own research, study the facts, okay? And know what you're getting yourself into when you get in this market. And again, this series of videos will continue as we go along, debunking some of these things and trying to educate. And again, if you come in my store, I'll do it. And again, to the guy that came in to buy the monster box of Silver Eagles this morning, I educated him. He walked out the door without a sale, but at least I gave him the information for him to chew on and decide for himself. And I could have taken a very expensive sale there and just pushed it, but I didn't. And that's what we need to do in the precious metals industry. One of the reasons people are distrustful of precious metals industry is because sometimes you have these shenanigans go on and people get into stuff and then they have buyer's remorse and they get pissed off. Think about American Silver Eagles. Last year at some point, I think the premiums were like 15 to 17 bucks. Now they're not 15 to 17 bucks. You know how many people are pissed when they bought a box of American Silver Eagles for 40 to 45 bucks a pop in the last couple of years and now they can't sell them for that? They're pissed off. So just be careful what you're buying, how long you're holding, and what your intent and purpose is. And know a little bit about your local bullion market so that you know what you can buy and get rid of when you need to. And know how much you need versus how much cash you need versus if you want to go buy the special edition stuff, like the Lithuanian Mint coin I put up there or pre-1933 gold. Get into the other stuff first and then decide if you want to get into that at all. And if you do, just be aware you're getting into it. It's like buying a Lexus versus a Toyota. You can buy the Lexus or you can buy the Toyota. The Toyota is going to be cheaper to operate. The Lexus is going to be more expensive, but maybe you just want the Lexus. Maybe you can afford it. That's okay. But you're not going to buy the Lexus when you're 16 getting your first car unless mommy and daddy's rich. You're probably buying the old beat up Toyota, Honda, whatever. So it depends on your budget, it depends on your time frame, it depends on what utility you want out of it, and it also depends on your happiness. And they're all personal decisions, but it helps to know this information to make that decision. And hopefully this series of videos will help you make that decision. And hopefully this series of videos will start engendering more trust in the industry. And again, I'm going to give you inside baseball. A lot of people aren't going to like me for doing this. A lot of other dealers aren't going to like me. A lot of other people that may make money by pushing certain products may not like me, but we need to talk about it because the only way to get trust in this industry, to get everybody to get into sound money, is to build it through education, clarity as much as possible. And that's what I aim to do. All right, now I'm off my soapbox. This is the ending of this episode. Next Tuesday, back to the weekly market wrap up. It's going to be a doozy. Got a lot of data for you on that one, a lot of news. And then next Thursday, the spot price discussion that's going to break the internet because everybody's going to call me a liar. But I'm going to show you how spot price actually works and how it affects the common products, physical products that you buy and sell. Don't miss that one. That's going to be a fun video. Until next time, Rob Kientz, Gold Silver Pros at www.goldsilverpros.com.